The Millenniyell podcast provides a louder voice to the truths and issues that all generations face, sometimes alone, and the why. But together with millennial self-improvement junkies, Billy and myself, Mel, we can all be the change to overcome life's ups and downs through conversation and connection. Let's Millenniyell together.
What is going on, guys? It is Friday, so you already know what that means. Another episode of Millenniyell with Billy and Mel. And you can already tell what the episode is going to be about. We have a special guest, and Mel is on the scene with our special guest. She's hitting the streets, guys. So we're trying to get this content to you guys in different forms and different fashions. So we're doing that for you guys, right? So, but anyways, today is a very special day. We have a special guest. I'll get to that here in a second. But if you are watching live, commenting, please make sure you comment who you are, where you're from. We'd love to give you a shout out. And if you're going to be catching us on the replay, do the exact same thing. Interact with us. You might have questions as we go throughout the show. Post them in the comments. We'll pop them up. We'll try to answer them to the best of our ability. But anyways, before we get into that, because you can see our special guest, but Mel, what's going on? How are you doing?
I'm good. I loved getting out today, although yesterday would have been nicer at 70 degrees.
Yeah.
But today's still nice, and I had a meeting in Harrisburg, and I got to see my sister. So I feel like it's fun to get out of Hershey. Yeah. And I surprised Hannah. I was hoping that she would invite me over. Also, I'd be in a coffee shop, but she made us matcha tea, which I want to try. I've never had it. We were talking about mushroom coffee and dandelion tea that my friend. I'm getting into the teas. The various teas. This is a treat.
You should try a matcha latte.
Yeah, that's what this is.
Well, okay, so with some steamed milk and stuff like that. Man,
yes, I've got
we used to make that.
Yeah, and cinnamon.
Yeah, matcha by itself, not the tastiest thing in the world.
But Billy knows his stuff.
Yes, yeah. I ran a coffee shop for a while. I don't know. Fun fact about Billy: he used to run a coffee shop back in the day. So
learn new things every day.
So, but no, that's awesome. It's great to get out and stuff like that. My week's been pretty good. It's been pretty solid. Not a whole lot to. I just got done actually today with my marketing plan for March, so I got that knocked out, ready to go. Scheduling some posts and stuff like that. I didn't used to do that. I used to, make post every day and have to think about it. But now scheduling content out is
I do that. I do that too.
So necessary.
I'm really trying to get better about that.
Yeah.
It's so much easier when you can get it all done in a couple of hours.
I do an hour or two on Sunday, every 2 Sundays. I do it Sunday just because I don't have anything else, but you could just do it Monday, but I scheduled out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm going to do a little Mel's mindful about is challenges. So I won't go too much into it. But because I gave myself the brand yourself, the treat yourself, I did a brand yourself challenge. I did 1 logo a day for 100 days. Nice. And I challenged myself. So I actually have to do it or I look like an idiot.
That really works for me too.
So I want to do more on that. Yes. Maybe we'll do something.
Let's do that. If something is a challenge, I can do it. I've decided I'm challenging myself to no spend March because I'm moving and moving is so expensive.
I love it.
Time consuming.
We should do that after
this.
We'll
yes. Okay.
Well, I'm doing the challenge right now, and I think Mel, you're still doing it. How are you doing on your challenge? Are you 75 hard?
I don't know if you saw my video that I posted. I said that you were doing 75 hard, and I was doing 75 soft.
What's that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
I just made it up. So yes, I'm not doing it exactly the 75 hard. It's no drinking.
Okay.
It's a certain amount, how much water a day, which I already
gallon. Yeah, gallon of water.
And you'd have two exercises for 45 minutes, and one of them has to be outside. Has to be.
Okay.
So no matter if it's cold or raining or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then is that it?
And you read 10 pages. Did you say that?
Read 10 pages.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah.
So there's a guy that I follow, Ryan, I think it's Pineda. He does, it's the wealthy way. and I follow him, and he has a wealthy weight challenge too. So he has working out for 45. He's probably doing the 75 hard. It's like there's meditating too, I feel like, but there's talking to someone every day, like for so many minutes, like talking to somebody, like really. There's working out, drinking. It's not drinking alcohol, but it's water. And there's a couple things. So I'm doing that. However, I posted about the accountability buddies, because that's what Billy and I coined, accountability buddies at some point, I feel like. And I said that I have a new gym accountability buddy, and what we do is we send each other a proof pic, and I put hashtag proof. I go hashtag proof, and we send it back to each other no matter what time it is. And it's like, this is the proof. And if he's like, where's your proof pic? I went, I didn't go. Like if I don't have one, I didn't go. And it's like, but then it makes me feel like I have to do something. So I posted about that on a couple of days ago, or like last week. Somebody reached out, a friend of mine, Rob Hamilton, his brother, and they have a Remax company that they have a couple people in a group text. And I was very hesitant about getting onto this group text. But
group texts are always hit or miss.
Well, I turned the notifications, tell them, I was like, I'm turning the notifications off. But it is fantastic because ironically, we just kind of all have different schedules, but we're putting the pictures in, we're motivating each other, we're laughing. And just today they were like, how about a Tough Mudder? And I went, no, I've never done this. I went, but yes, because my sister did them all the time in the Spartan race. And they brought up the Spartan race.
Okay.
And she's in a facility. She can't walk. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to face my fears like I have been with everything else. I said, sign me up. I don't care where and when it is. And you know, the kind of excuses from the other people, but they were like, nope, we're doing this. No excuses. Awesome. So I've never done it. And I can't even do a pull-up. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with like climbing walls. But I'm going to do it for her, you know, and just like, you know.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I think we should introduce our guests since we've been for a couple of minutes now. So Hannah. Right, and pronounce your last name because I'm terrible at last names.
Lyter.
Lyter. Okay, so I want to take a second, everybody that's watching, listening, to introduce our guest. I have her bio right here, so I'm going to read right from that. So Hannah is a digital creator who is passionate about fashion and sustainability. She grew up in rural PA, and we'll find out exactly what rural PA is here in a second.
I didn't want to out myself.
She started blogging 12 years ago. She moved to New York City or New York?
To the city.
Okay, to the city, and for college, and her interest in fashion and media grew. She is now content creation and social media management for business is her full-time job, and she's always been it's always been a way for her to connect with like-minded people and exercise her creativity. So what is going on, Hannah? Officially, we get to introduce you on the show now, even though we were talking for a little bit. We thank you so much for being on the show. We really
appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. I Instagram stalked you a little bit before we got on. Saw a lot of cool stuff. So, but you know, I don't know you quite yet, and Mel knows you, but like a lot of our viewers are going to be watching this. A lot of our viewers are going to be watching this. So I always like to start off with the first easiest question to ask anybody is tell us a little bit about you.
Oh yeah, give my elevator pitch.
Yes.
Well, you said you wanted to guess.
Perry County.
Yeah. I grew up right on the Perry-Juniata County line. So when I say Perry County, people who are from Pennsylvania are like, oh yeah, Duncannon. And I'm like, no, you keep going. There's Newport, you keep going.
Yes.
There's Millerstown, you get off the Millerstown exit, you go out into the woods, you know, down off the paved road onto the dirt path.
I've been around there.
Nowhere. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and my family still lives there, so I love to go visit on the weekends, and you know, it's a nice little country retreat. But I don't think I could live in the country anymore. I'm definitely a city girl. Moved to New York at 16, and I was there for about 8 years. Before I just realized it was so bad for my mental health. I was so stressed trying to be involved in like the rat race of being successful. So I moved back I'm in Harrisburg now to kind of be close to my family, still in a city, but it's a small city.
When
And
did
it's
you move
perfect.
back here?
4 or 5, maybe 4 years ago. I don't know. Time all runs together. Pre-pandemic, because it wasn't, because of the pandemic. I know a lot of people left the city during that, but it was before that I moved back, and I just love it here. I'm very content.
Nice. So let's explore that for a second. Like,
Sure.
because I was the exact opposite. I went from living in like right around Philadelphia to moving to Alabama. So moving from the city to the country, right?
Yeah.
And what was your experience like? Because you talked about it, like, it was the rat race and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
expand on that a little bit. Like, what was that culture shock like for you?
It wasn't even really a culture shock when I first moved. I loved it, and it was what I wanted. And I was a teenager, so I had enough energy to stay up all night and be studying for my college classes, and then going and working a job and having a boyfriend and keeping up with the social life, just kind of doing it all. And the older I got, the more I realized I was just kind of, my wheels were spinning, but I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't building towards anything. And I had a really honest conversation with myself where I asked, what do I actually want? What kind of life do I want to have? And ultimately, I wanted more space. I didn't want to share an apartment, 1 bedroom with 3 other girls. And, I didn't want to have to walk to the subway in the snow and have ice and snow and sleet in my hair. I wanted to be able to drive a car again. I just missed all of those things and had never lived anywhere else except Perry County or New York City. And I was like, you know what? There's an in-between. So I can have the city atmosphere. I can walk to my coffee shops. I can see my friends. I don't have to live in Perry County. But then I also have the support system of my family. And I don't feel like I'm constantly trying to one-up everyone, make more money, work more. That hustle culture was not for me, ultimately.
And I'm just figuring this out at 38 years old.
Yeah, it's
sad, but
it's all on your own timing, right?
I mean, I was in Philly in college, and I moved back here to start my business, and things definitely slowed down. I wanted to go to Manhattan, so it's like all you say is like, "Oh my God, the dream!" But it is all relative. Like, once you're there. But I wanted to go from Philadelphia for 4 years into Manhattan, right? And I actually didn't do that, which I would have loved to do at least for a little bit. But I came back here and really. I didn't live in Harrisburg. It's funny. I lived in Susquehanna Township, but then I lived on the West Shore and now Hershey.
Where did you grow up?
I was in Baltimore originally, but then I came up to here. But it's funny. I haven't really said anything about this, but I almost feel that like I could live like in Harrisburg, like the city, like because like Hershey, like I love Hershey. Like
here.
Sorry, everybody that are my Hershey pals, but
cute.
But I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and a lot of the things that I'm doing. They're putting a new apartment building that has like 20, 30 units, and it's like floor to ceiling windows right on the river.
Right. Yeah,
and I was like, I don't know, I might want to do this.
I love it here.
Jordan,
I tell everyone to move here.
I texted Jordan. He said he was going to watch one of our last guests.
Well, we do have some comments. There's Jordan. Everyone has their own version of that. Mine is arguably more insane than all. And then he said, more insane than all of yours with an emoji right there.
So thanks. We'll have to have him back so that we can hear his story.
Yeah. So now you're moving back, right? You've moved back to the Harrisburg area. So what do you start doing then with your life? Like what was the next phase of your I always say the next chapter of your book, right?
Yeah, I was a preschool teacher for a couple of years and absolutely loved that. Cool. Still love kids. A lot of my friends have kids, and I'm constantly like, go out on a date. Let me watch the baby. I babysit.
That's nice.
And I just love kids and love teaching, but I'm still doing content creation kind of on the side. And that's always been something. I got my first blogging job, like freelance blogging job, when I was 16. And so for 12 years now, I've always kept a blog. Then I kind of moved it more to Instagram, but I love to write. And just create, you know. I feel
Right.
like the photography, the writing, the fashion, it all kind of
It is.
into my passions.
As a graphic designer,
Yeah.
I was always interested with the photographer for the yearbook, and I was
Yes,
always into
yeah.
fashion, and I'm
Right.
always into other types of art
Yes.
too.
So I feel like I get to be kind of a jack of all trades. I can make it whatever I want to be. And it was just a hobby that made a little bit of extra money for many, many years until finally I was so burnt out by teaching, and I didn't want to get to the point where I was resentful of that job. I wanted to leave on a good note because I loved the kids, loved their families, but the job itself was, you know, not the greatest. And I thought, okay, I will give myself 1 year to make this work. Like, I've never taken a chance on myself like this. I would love to work work for myself and work from home. I'll give myself 1 year. And if I can make it happen with, you know, content creation and social media management, I've made it happen. You know, if I can do it for a year, I can do
love
it.
that.
And January was a year.
Wow.
And I keep saying, okay, I guess I'm doing it. And my friends are like, stop saying you guess, or like, stop saying that you're trying. Like, you are doing it. Stop saying you're trying. It's happening.
I've done the same thing myself, but so yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that so now you're fully immersed in the social, and we've done a lot of podcasts talking about like social media influencers and stuff like that. So it's interesting because like I think so many people like have their like conceived idea of what like an influencer is.
Oh, for sure.
And especially like in the millennial world, right? Like, and like now it's like, it's crazy. I saw this stat the other day. So China, right, came out with TikTok, right?
Yeah.
And China has a very different version of TikTok compared to the United States, right?
Okay.
So TikTok used in China is more educational based and stuff like that. Whereas TikTok in the United States is like a free for all, right? It's just like just all kinds of crazy content, which is great. You know, and we all need entertainment in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
But like when you ask like over there, like what kids want to be, they're saying like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be like an astronaut. I want to be an engineer, right? And over here, like the kids these days, right? And I say like I'm 40,000 years old. The kids these days are like, well, I want to be an influencer. And I don't think kids really understand what that means.
Right.
To be an influencer. So can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, and I don't even think there's one definition that all influencers fit into. So it's interesting that you ask that. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I am getting caught up on the show You on Netflix.
Okay.
And in the 3rd season, there is a couple and they're influencers. And I was remarking to my one friend that the trend I'm noticing in TV media and movies is that character is now a really easy like trope.
Emily in Paris.
Yes,
she is on Instagram as
I haven't really watched Emily in Paris, but I'm familiar. It's
awesome. Yeah.
In You, the influencer couple is just unbearable. They're an easy kind of, just like I said, a trope for the people you know you're not going to like. It's easy to pop someone in there and say, okay, they're an influencer. So we already know as an audience that means they're vapid, they're really self-obsessed, they're
materialistic.
They're materialistic. They're always on their phone. And I definitely think that's an idea that a lot of people have of influencers. Some of that maybe is warranted for some people. Some of that I think is a little bit misogynistic because it's so dominated by women. It's, oh, okay, we don't take it seriously. Men have been painting pictures of women looking beautiful for centuries. But now women want to show themselves off being beautiful, that's suddenly, you know, it's vain, it's shallow. Right. And makeup as an art form. Makeup really is just absolutely art. I'm not very good with makeup, but it absolutely is an art form. So I think some of that is a little bit of misogyny, but I have met influencers who are truly the best and smartest people. And I've met influencers who kind of fit that bill. For me, influencer sounds kind of cringy. I like to say content creator because I think that's a little more descriptive of what I do. I never mind if someone calls me an influencer, but for me, it's about creating. I'm trying to add content of value.
I wish it is true, and Billy and I
100%.
talked
Love
about
that
this
answer.
we've talked about this behind the scenes and even on that I do think that there is a stereotypical when you think of influencer, right? And it is like a fashion or like a female with like.
You want to know who I think of that comes to mind when you say influencer, and I'm not saying it's anybody like, but the first thing that runs through my mind, and it goes back to your Hannah, what you were originally saying, that cringe-worthy person. And I don't even want to call her cringe-worthy, but I immediately, for some reason, in my head, Paris Hilton comes to mind.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
she was an original. I mean,
yes.
But there's a lot behind the scenes about Paris Hilton,
right?
On mental health that she's put out there.
There is more than meets the eye.
I just
of course, say,
yeah, and I just want to say too about this because, and then, but that I've had people when I've been putting out things just over with my business and like events, like I promote events, like nonprofits that I'm doing with my business, or like now that I do a lot of quotes and like things I'm sharing my journey. Yes. Somebody over the last couple of years, like, oh, you should be an influencer. You're an influencer. And I was like, no, I am not. Do not call me an influencer. And I didn't mean it like that. But I want to make an impact, right?
Yes.
And I want to have a really great influence on people in a way. Yes. But I just wish there was like another term. Like it does feel that the word.
It's kind of a dirty word.
You
don't want to be called an influencer. But I think, I don't know, like I said, I content creation, I think for me seems to kind of fit the bill better. But then people on TikTok who are just like doing their dances, which power to them. I can't do any TikTok dances.
No, I don't even have the TikTok. I had to download it so that I could watch videos that someone sent me. I had to actually create an account.
Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to get all of my older millennial friends onto TikTok, and it is like pulling teeth.
Speaking
my little Gen Z, go ahead.
So you didn't ask about sorry to interrupt.
No,
about we're on the Millenniyell, and although we are millennials, we are bridging gaps between the other generations. Yeah. So I thought Hannah was Gen Z,
which I'm equal parts like flattered by and offended by. No, I think I'm kind of on the cusp. I think I'm very interested in the divide between generations, and I spend a lot of time kind of researching what is the cutoff between like a millennial and Gen Z. My little brother is born in '98, and he is kind of a zillennial. He's right on the brink there, but I like to say that I know that I am a millennial and had a millennial childhood, because I can remember being like 4 years old, preschool age. I had a friend who was a little bit older, maybe 6, and my nan would let us walk from her apartment down to a gas station along the highway by ourselves to get Spice Girls Pop Rocks. And I told my mom that story, and she almost had a heart attack. She was like, "She did what?" Now, even my nan would never dream of letting a preschooler do that.
Right.
I had a free range kind of millennial childhood. It was like go outside, come back at dinner time.
Yeah, I mean, we used to run around. I was the same thing down in Baltimore. I was outside of the city, obviously, but we used to ride our bikes and walk on the peace stand. I was telling Nell, another girl that's from Baltimore, and it was like, it took us an hour and a half sometimes to walk. But that is a true story of
that's how you know you're
millennials. If we were allowed to just roam and stay out until we get Melissa.
Exactly. Come home when the sun's going down.
Oh yeah, ours was come home when the street lights came on, right? Like it was like, hey, that's the time to go. But I do need to bring up a funny comment by Jordan. I don't know if you can see the comments, but I can post them up
now.
Yeah, I can throw them up. And Jordan says, and Billy, this proves that you're 400 years old, right along with me, because I remember a world without Paris Hilton. So yeah, but like going back to that, it's just like, it's funny because, like you said, there are really some positive things that content creators, influencers, you put your terminology in there, but there's also a double-edged sword to social media, right? And so I want to talk about that in particular, like because social media can definitely be a harsh place. And so it's like, how, like, since you're in that, like, I don't consider myself a content creator or influencer. Like, I post a lot of stuff just because of my business.
Right.
But I like to do it. But, you know, in that world of influencing people, right? How do you balance sharing personal details about your life as well as protecting like your mental health, right? And your well-being online?
Yeah.
We're going to do a segment too on Mel's Mindful, because I'm starting to put out stuff as well. So we're going to do something like longer about this too.
Yes.
Because I'm actually really interested. I'm glad you asked that, Billy, because like putting yourself out there can lead to.
That was a question written by ChatGPT, by the way.
Oh, thank you, ChatGPT.
I had to put that out there.
I'm definitely, we've kind of talked about this.
I can talk about this all day long. There definitely is, it's a double-edged sword, and I do a lot to protect my mental health. I used to be so bad at that, but around the same time that I left New York and I said, okay, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want to be doing? I also started to take my mental health really seriously. So like therapy, medication for what I need it for, things like that. And with that, I've also been trying to learn like more behavioral changes that, you know, I am very pro medication for mental health, but also super pro therapy, and making those behavioral changes to kind of cut out things in your life that you know are bad for your mental health. It's no good taking medication for something if you're just going to keep doing something that you know stresses you out over and over and over. So that being said, one of the things I've been dealing with recently is a lot of hate comments, like so many hate comments. I had a brand that I was very lucky to work with that I absolutely love. They ran one of my reels as an ad. So I was suddenly thrust outside of my kind of bubble of my own
and your
Instagram
followers.
And my followers, my community, who are so supportive. I've truly met some of my very best friends locally through Instagram. I was thrust out of that safe little space into the broader internet. And people are so mean. And one of the things that has really helped me, it's cheesy, but it's like they don't know. They don't know my life. They don't know anything about me. It's so easy to be behind a keyboard without your real name and say, oh, I would never live my life the way you do. But actual in-person conversations are, you know, suddenly people have a change of tune. So I just don't let it get to me. I've stopped giving it the power to get to me. Now, when someone says, oh, you know, you should lose weight and then you'll be mentally healthy. Okay, well, you're not my doctor. You're not my therapist. You're not even my friend. You're a total stranger. And for all I know, you weigh 500 pounds and you're in your mom's basement saying these things to me. Honestly, like another thing going off of that is that my dad has always told me, don't take advice from people whose lives are not going the way that you want to live your life.
And I always say, from people who haven't experienced
that,
I don't speak of anything that I don't know personally firsthand.
Yes.
But yeah.
And he said it specifically with relationship advice. Don't take relationship advice from someone if you wouldn't want that relationship, or if you wouldn't want to be dating their significant other, or you know, their husband.
They have relationship problems.
Exactly. Everyone has their own set of relationship problems. Don't take advice from someone whose life you're not aspiring to. And so I always keep that in mind with nasty comments on the internet. Okay, I mentally, I'm protecting my space. I'm not entertaining any advice or hate from people who don't know me and whose lives I don't want.
And I think too, adding on to that, because I started sharing, you know, some more personal things that are happening with me, and it is going to be absolutely, I think, part of my growth and my journey, and a lot of the things that I'm changing in my, you know, behaviors, and a lot of the things is sharing my story, because a lot of people have commented on posts. A lot of people are reaching out. I'm putting out more things about myself that people can relate to. So it's kind of similar to what you put out and people respond to. But
Yeah.
I've seen that people are reacting and like reaching out, and I feel really good about it, and I want to help them. So, but at the same time, I go through and I'm like, oh, I don't want to put this out. Like, oh, it's like I go into this my mind where I'm like, oh, are people going to think it's stupid? Or are they going to be like, why is she sharing this? Or we don't care about your.
This is so vulnerable.
We don't care about your problems, Melissa Miller. You know, and it's like, so I just say, you know what? But there's that one person that reached out and said, what you're doing helps me. And that is what I go off of too.
Exactly.
And I know that there's more than one, but but it's also helping me to be able to do that. So it's
and to go off of that by being vulnerable, it is a double-edged sword. You're putting yourself out there, people can see that and they can judge it, but you're also attracting your people.
Right.
You're attracting the right people. And I think I said before that I want to add value to people's lives. I'm not here to say, buy this, do this. Here's me going on a glamorous trip. Like you know, to be aspirational in that way, like you want my life. I always want to be creating a community and adding value for people. So whether it's about fashion or it's mental health advice, I want to share my life and my story. You
said aspire.
Aspirational. Yeah.
So I've always said that I want to inspire people.
Yes.
I said impact earlier and I meant inspire.
Okay.
What if we coin a new phrase instead of influencer? It's inspirer.
I love that.
And we start.
Are you going to call me that now?
Yes. Hashtag. I love to do this. Like this is like such a millennial thing.
It is.
So, I love it though. I think we should coin a new term because you are at that, Billy, as well. Like with all of the posts that you put every day, and you put yourself out there to get on video and to be live, and it's vulnerable to like screw up and be on camera, but also like you're putting your opinions out there to help people. Ultimately, it's to help and inspire people to
open up a conversation, and then people don't feel.
Billy is a hashtag inspire.
There we go.
I love it. I love it. I love just the whole idea that what you were talking about. You know, for me, like I protect a lot of what I consume. You know, so if you ever took a look at just my actual like news feed, it is the majority of it is very people that I want to be connected to because they bring something you said very important, and I think that that's the huge dividing line between like the cringeworthy like influencer versus somebody that's trying to like influence the world and make it a better place and provide value is that word is value. Like when you step across that line and say, I'm more concerned about the value I put in the world and the value I bring to people than, oh, I just need to produce some content so I can become famous so I don't have to work. That, like, I think that's what, like, the generations before us, like our parents and stuff like that, they're like, oh, they're lazy, so they're going to influence people to buy stuff, and that's why they're doing it. And it's like, no, it's much more beyond that. So I think it's an interesting kind of route to take, like, and maybe a question that we could ask, like, so what has it been like for like dealing with the generation above us that is like maybe doesn't quite understand what it is that you do? Because we're always taught to go to a place, work 9 to 5, leave, go to sleep, rinse and repeat for the next 35, 40 years. And when you don't do that and it's different, it can cause some kind of disconnect, if that's the best word I could figure out.
For sure.
Right now.
I will say I'm very lucky that my parents have always been very supportive of like my creative endeavors, you know, those kinds of pursuits. They've always been very supportive about that. And even when I said, okay, I'm going full-time freelance, like this is it, I'm doing it, they're like, okay, well, if you need to move back into your childhood bedroom, like, you know, we're here. They had that thing where they were supportive, but they're not quite sure, they, you know. And sometimes I'll go home on the weekends to see them, and I'll work from home, and my mom's like, oh, do you want to go, let's go to the thrift store, let's do this. I'm like, I'm working, just, you know. My brother has kind of more of a standard 9 to 5, but he also works from home. And I'm like, if he's working from home and you understand that, I'm also working from home. I really need to get this done. Right. I have terrible ADHD and you can't keep talking to me. We can't chit chat while I'm working. So there's that kind of, like they're super supportive. Maybe they don't quite get it. I think I don't know that anyone else from like older generations has had anything negative to say, honestly. I think even if they don't get it, they're overall pretty supportive. I think. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting just because like I was saying, a lot of the generation above us just maybe not see the value in that type of field. But like you said, we've all dealt with that, especially if you're a business owner. It's like, when I first started and I came from a 9-to-5 job and I now working my own business, like I definitely could feel that, like, even though it might have not been, we always make up things in our head that actually don't exist.
Oh, absolutely.
Or thoughts. And I think
it
amplifies as you become more indoctrinated into the lifestyle that we're all experiencing as business owners and not in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
So, but you said something really interesting too, about just like dealing with like the negativity, that I wanted to just shed a little light on and bring up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So you said something to the effect of like, I just don't let it bother me. But I feel like there was some steps that you needed to take, or some things that you can actively do, because there are people that are going to be watching this that understand that concept. They understand that they need to not let that negativity filter into past their filtering system. But how do you because we've talked about it, like we've given our opinion on that, but like to hear somebody else's perspective, like what are some tangible things that you do to block that negativity?
Thank you for bringing me back to that, because I did want to get into that. I would say for me personally, the number one thing is having an amazing community, amazing support system. I'm so lucky and so grateful. I don't even like to say lucky, because I have very, very intentionally curated my group of friends, the people that I spend my time with, invest my energy in. They give me back 110%. And will kind of jokingly say only one of us can be having a mental breakdown at a time. The other one has to be there to scrape you off the floor.
I just said that to my friend Erica. I said, I'm going to have a good day with this, because we're going through the same thing, similar. And I said, I'm going to have a really good day, and you might be having a bad day.
Yeah,
but I'm going to be there. And then I'm going to have a bad day, and it's a good day.
Yes. And I have friends that have truly picked me up off the floor when I need it. And so I know that when someone says, for example, someone truly did say like, oh, okay, you're fat, lose weight, and then you don't have to take medication for your mental health. You won't be depressed if you just go outside, exercise, eat well, whatever, all those things that I've never thought of before. Thank you, random man on the internet. I never would have. Coming live from your mom's basement, I would not have thought of that.
I love it.
And I'll tell my friends, like, hey, maybe this thing kind of hurt me. Like, I know it's not true. I know this man is not, he's just a rando on the internet. His opinion doesn't matter. And they will really remind me of who I am. And I think having those friends who know you very intimately, can tell you the truth, can come to you with constructive criticism, so that they're not just kind of like, am I allowed to swear? Like blowing smoke up your ass. They're not bullshitting you. They're going to give you feedback. If I am being, I do tell my friends, if I'm being cringy, please, for the love of God, let me know. Because maybe I'm too deep into this influencer thing, the content creation. I've been doing this for so long. Maybe I won't know. If there's a point where you're like, Hannah, what? Back it up. This is too much.
Like accountability.
Yeah, exactly. So having that support system that I know is not just going to bullshit me. They'll say, this guy is full of shit. Like he doesn't know what he's talking about. you know your life, they know my life. They'll say you know, and I could get into that whole thing, but I weigh more now and I'm much more mentally stable and happy and healthy than I ever have been in my life. And my doctor and my therapist agree.
Right.
So they can come to me with those facts about myself, not let me forget who I am as a person and how much they love me. That is huge for me. I'm definitely a words of affirmation kind of person. If you want to get like into love languages, I need that. And then because of that, because they're there to build me up, I also have really worked on my own self-confidence. And I think journaling helps with that. Writing down, okay, this is who I am. So if someone says you're these things, you're that, I know that's not true. I know myself, and I've taken many years in therapy, journaling, with my friends as a sounding board to know myself and who I am as a person, so that when people say things about me that aren't true, I don't fall into that trap of believing that as easily.
Yeah.
I loved everything you said.
I think I'm doing the same thing too.
Yeah. I think you said something really, really important. And what it sounded like to me, especially at the beginning, is like, you know, when you're on social media, I know we're harping on social media just for this fact, but you know, your battery, right? I think that we all have like an internal battery and that gets drained. And with negativity, like, yes, you're like, yes, I can block that. Right. But there comes a point when your battery's so low that you can't block that energy anymore. Right. And so having people around you to recharge that battery, right. To remind you of who you are, like you said, it was just an amazing comment. And I just had to bring it up because it's something I do. And what I call it, right, for myself. Well, first for me, and I've said this a million times, the most important conversation that you'll have throughout the day is the one you have with yourself, right? The second thing, and it kind of goes back to having those people in your life, is I think of those people as my board of advisors, right? Like those are the people that I'm going to go
my
to.
friends and I do that too.
Yeah. So it's that board. It's that, you know, you're going to walk into that room, right? In not physically, but you're going to walk into that room and you're going to talk to that board of advisors, and they're going to be like, "Oh, listen, what's going on out there? Like, they don't know what's going on in this room. Like, you know what I mean?" So that was really a really profound thing, and I hope somebody got some value out of that.
I love that.
Really good.
I actually haven't heard you say that before when you said they don't know what's going on in this room, in the boardroom.
Yeah.
And actually, it kind of changes it for me, knowing that you have your board of directors.
Yes.
But when you say they don't know what's going on in the boardroom, that's all that matters.
Yes.
And for me, my also came with faith and like spirituality that I after I had broken up with my ex-boyfriend 2 years ago, and just was down and like had to, you know, kind of go on my own and sort of, my counselor did say that you have to trust in yourself. That you're going to be okay. And it's also not just like in relationships or you get fired, which I did since, or, you know, like lost a client or, but that we trust ourselves. And the problem is, I think we don't trust ourselves enough.
Yes.
And we don't believe in ourselves, and we have all that self-doubt and the sabotage and the imposter. But one of the biggest things that I leaned into with my faith was saying, I know who I am. I say this all the time. There's rumors about me all day out there. Okay. There's all these fake versions of me, and people don't like that. I don't want to be friends with them. So they spread all these rumors recently even. Okay. But
we'll talk about that later.
I absolutely say all day, I know who I am. I love who I am. God knows who I am.
Yeah.
Okay. And my closest inner people who see me. I don't just say my closest inner circle. Who know me, who get me, who see me.
Yes.
That's all I care about. That's all I care about. And but it's sad that we have to like tell ourselves. I've been having to like do affirmations too. And like, I print them out and put them all over. You are worthy. You're not a victim. Like, and it's actually, it starts to rewire our brain.
It does.
We actually become that.
Yeah.
And that's why some people are not well and they're not in a good spot is because they tell them themselves and they believe bad things about themselves.
Yes. Well, and I'm glad that you mentioned that it's like an everyday thing and you leave yourself notes, because it's not one and done. This is, for the last 5 years, I've been trying to do this. I've been doing it. Yeah. I've been getting better at it. And literally every single day, I'm trying to get more into kind of meditating in the morning, doing a little bit of yoga, doing some movement. But every single day I try to sit with myself if I'm writing or I'm meditating and come back to that. Like, who am I? What kind of life do I want? How am I working towards building that life? Literally yesterday I had a total crisis where I was like, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I can't hack it. I should go get a 9-to-5. I should be a secretary.
I do that like every couple of months.
And I'll meet someone and I will marry rich. And that is like my life plan, And I have to, I joke about it. I'm like, oh, it wouldn't be a bad life. But then I'm like, okay, come back to what you really want.
Right.
How are you working towards those goals? Being a secretary and marrying rich is a fun fantasy, but ultimately is not going to help me build the life I want.
Yeah, short-term thinking.
What's that?
It's short-term thinking.
Exactly.
You're making you're in your mind. I do this with my clients a lot, especially when
Pete's on. Hey, Pete.
Yeah, greatness is a process.
But I do this a lot with my clients, especially when they get down on themselves about, because not only, I mean, for me, like money is very an emotional, mind thing.
Yes,
and so
absolutely.
But yeah, it's I don't even know how to describe it. So just getting back into the emotional side of things is so impactful. But well, oh yeah, I just saw that comment. Greatness is a process. I love that.
Thanks,
Kevin's here.
Hey, Kevin.
What's going on, Kevin? Brandon said adding value is key. So, and then he also said Brandon is our local fact checker.
Yeah, we love Brandon.
So if we ever say a comment or something along those lines and it doesn't quite meet actual facts, Brandon will let us know.
We love that. I love that. He's calling you out. Yeah.
So he is he says digital creation for the win. So man, this has been pretty awesome so far. I want to bring up, before we kind of talk about like what you do and get and dive into that a little bit. I think for guys, especially, like the stigma for mental health is like, I mean, I'm just calling how I see it.
It is.
And you can.
It's your told.
This is a platform where we can definitely disagree, but like I feel, obviously women are a lot more open to getting the help, right?
Yes.
Accessing that help. They know I have a problem. I need to go talk to somebody about that. But for guys, that stigma is like, no, I need to be manly and strong and masculine, and I can't show weakness.
Right. Power through it.
But like in overall, right, there's an overall stigma behind mental health, getting help for mental health, using, people will often say, like, I see it all the time. Like people will say, oh, well, only crazy people use medication, right? Like, so talk a little bit about that and like your experience with that, I guess.
In the context of like with men and mental health,
just in general,
my experience, like getting on medication.
Yeah, just that latter part. Okay. I was just kind of talking and getting the thoughts out of my head to ask that question. That's where I eventually wanted to end up with that question. Sure. But sometimes that's how my brain works.
Billy's exuding his emotions and being vulnerable.
I love it. Thank you, Billy. So I think I had to get to a really low point before I was willing to get on medication. I was definitely, so for me, I have had generalized anxiety disorder my whole life. I was a little anxious baby. Like, like my very first memories, I have a lot of memories of early childhood, which is how I don't have any childhood trauma.
Right.
Because I remember
zero.
Yeah.
I can't remember a thing. So
yeah, I literally have memories of being like one.
We're gonna do podcasts about this, guys.
Right. I'd love to listen to that one. Yeah. So I have very early memories. And I was talking to my therapist about it. I was like, I had a great childhood. As far as childhoods go, wasn't perfect by any means, but great parents who did their best. Great childhood. but my earliest memories are literally of being anxious. Why, like what's going on here? Kind of just, I don't think I even asked her. I was just throwing it out there. Like, I'm confused as to why this is. And she said, well, you know, we've been talking about your family a lot. I feel like I've got a good idea of the family dynamic. Do you think maybe your parents are also very anxious people? And it was just like, I was mind blown.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. So this is something that kind of, in the past few years, I've been seeing, you know, I'm not sure, genetic or hereditary, kind of runs in the family. We're very anxious people. So I've been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, have always struggled with that. But around the same time I was leaving New York, I was also feeling very depressed. So I don't have like clinical depression,
but it comes
I was experiencing
situational. I've had situational depression.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was the lows of depression and then these like high panics of anxiety, and it became unbearable. I was so depressed I couldn't get out of bed, but then I would drive to work and I would be having panic attacks. So just the imbalance of how bad the depression was and then how bad the anxiety also was getting me, I just couldn't do it. And it had to get to the point where I literally felt like I was a danger to myself and others because I was having panic attacks while driving. I would have to pull over and I was like, I'm going to cause an accident. There had to be a physical manifestation of my mental health problems before I was willing to be like, oh, okay, this is something physical happening to me. I can go to the doctor about this. So I went to the doctor and I said, hey, I'm having panic attacks while I'm driving. That kind of worries me. I'm afraid I'm going to cause an accident. I'm afraid I'm going to hurt, you know.
But good for you because, I mean, we've all gone through this and I think we all do. And we avoid, you know, avoidance.
Yes.
But that
I avoided it my whole life.
I you know, there's so much stuff, but but good for you that there's so many people I always say that are driving around today with and not
having panic attacks
and not
at the wheel,
but not even aware to take that step. And it's a process. Like it takes a lot of time to get to where, you know, it's like that point.
It took a very long time. And this is why I say I have like curated my friend group and been very intentional about that because I had a very bad, like toxic friendship in my life. Not necessarily that person is toxic as a person, but our friendship was extremely toxic and bad for me. And they were kind of giving me bad mental health advice, like, oh, medication for your mental health can permanently alter your brain chemistry, this and that. And that just, first of all, was factually incorrect about my specific scenario and medication I was taking. Not correct. It's not permanently mind altering. And second, was just absolutely not what I needed to hear. I so desperately needed something. And I've talked with other people about this when they're like, oh, well, taking medication isn't going to make my problems go away. And I'm stressed and I'm anxious because of money problems, relationship problems. They're underlying issues, which I understand. Medication does not make any of your problems go away. But for me, I was so just absolutely scrambled up. I couldn't make any good decisions. Once I got on medication and got into therapy, I had the tools to start making better decisions.
Like clarity.
I had some clarity to actually work to fix the problems in my life that I was incapable of doing before getting that help.
I think there's a lot of people. I think that relates to a lot of us. And I mean, I think I've done a lot. We've talked about things like meditation, like reading and working out, and a lot of it is stress. And I think our nervous system. I mean, things that I know, because I've talked about, jokingly say I probably have high functioning anxiety and ADD or ADHD. My new doctor even said, and we're going to do a bunch of podcasts about this because it's like. What are you doing for your anxiety? It's like, anxiety? What anxiety? I don't have anxiety. And it's funny, but I've actually done a lot of things to slow my mind down. I slowed my body down. And I've actually done a lot of things, but it takes a lot of work to even still, you know, face a lot of the things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that people do sometimes numb themselves.
Yes.
With medication and or weed, like
Yeah.
alcohol.
Anything.
Yeah.
So relationships, sex, like
oh God,
being-
TV.
Yeah.
I mean, addiction,
so
gambling.
many different things.
Like,
Yes. Well, and that's the thing is some of those things are fine on their own, and then when they go so far as to be an addiction, or if you're using them intentionally to numb underlying issues, they are going to be a problem. A glass of wine is fine, but if you're an alcoholic, it's not. If you're on
for what reasons you're,
exactly. And I try to be very cautious about that. And I think it goes back to what we were saying about how it is every single day. Every single day, I'm not taking my medication in the morning and saying, oh, this is going to fix me. We're good. We talked about having too much caffeine or too much coffee. I know that if I take my medication for anti-anxiety, like my anti-anxiety medication, and then I chug 3 cups of coffee on an empty stomach, which sometimes I do, I'm shooting myself in the foot. All my anxiety comes flooding back because it's, awful for your cortisol levels. And then I'm frantic and my mind is racing. So instead of doing that, doing things that are going to work to my benefit, like yoga, meditation,
lifestyle changes.
Yes, it goes hand in hand. And I know some people are very successful just with lifestyle changes, and that's great. But there were no amount of lifestyle changes I was making that were helping panic attacks, constant panic attacks.
Right.
So,
and that's where I say I'm not diagnosed, and or I jokingly say to people like I don't hurt anybody,
Yeah.
And it's like it's never been a problem to go and say like I need to this. But what happened was it was where when I started realizing the things that I'm not doing for my life, like I wasn't fulfilled. It was like you doing that checklist and saying, what do I really want? Who do I want to be? I made a checklist about my future partner, which is like super successful, by the way. Like, I mean, I really do believe in this. And you mentioned about writing things down. And I think that, I've made lifestyle changes to where I don't think I need that, but it's given me the clarity to say, okay, why am I avoiding this? Why? And it's fear. I'm actually now digging into like the next onions that are peeling, right?
Yes.
And I think that it's allowing that. So some of us might need, and he actually said to me, it's okay if you're on medication for the rest of your life.
Right.
My ex-husband had anxiety and was on Effexor for 13
I was
years.
on Effexor. Oh my God, for 13 years.
So he tried to get off of it on our wedding. So I witnessed that. I was actually living, first, I wouldn't say firsthand, but I mean, secondhand, let's just say. But it's really interesting because from a lot of the work that I'm doing, and Billy is like we call ourselves junkies. What do you say? Self-improvement junkie. Billy has actually influenced me.
Nice.
He has changed me over the last 3 years with reading and everything that he does and all of his work, like has really, really I'm not going to cry, Billy. I'm not going to cry, but it has really
been impactful.
It has, really, and I love that. But yeah, it's really interesting that I would say I was I'm not going to go on medication,
right?
But I feel like if I hadn't made the changes that I made over the last year or two, I would have probably been there to sort of
gotten to that low point.
But it wasn't until a lot of things were distractions for me.
Yes.
And that's what they say with our minds and, ADD or ADHD, a lot of it is, and being creative and our personalities, which come sometimes from deeper issues from childhood as well, about looking for attention and trying to be, love me. But I've really started to love, like Billy, like learning about ourselves, and the more that we do, and the more that we understand why we are the way, and it's not us.
It's not inherently us.
Like you said, it could be from being learned behavior or being all you knew from childhood.
Right.
Is it genetic or is it learned? I don't know. But I mean, at the same time, knowing, like understanding it a little bit.
Knowledge is power. Like just learning more and giving you the tools to say, okay, well, I do think this is something I've always struggled with. I want to go on medication, or this is a season of my life where I'm really struggling with this. Maybe I can get through it with therapy, different behavior, changing the way I live my life, stopping things that are making me anxious, getting out of a toxic relationship, quitting a toxic job, those kinds of things. I definitely think I have kind of a holistic approach to it. It's the whole,
not just one thing.
It's the whole person.
Right.
Yes.
It's not just
It's
one
not
thing.
it's not just one thing. It's not just taking medication, slapping a Band-Aid on it, and calling it a day.
Yeah, I love that. Because there are, I think people can use that as a crutch sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I just need to be on medication, right?
Right.
And you said something really important, right? We all go through seasons in our life, and doing that work, right? Like, I've been probably on the self-help train for 5 years now, right? And I'll never get off of that because, like you said, the work is never done. You know, you can never silence that negativity, but you can make that voice smaller in your head, right? You can be not as pronounced.
Exactly.
And be in control of it.
Yeah.
But doing that work and being able to recognize, like, this is not the way I want to be, this is not the way I want to think, and then using the other tools that are around us, whether that be therapy, talking to a doctor, having medication, like using those as tools rather than just leaning on them and that's like, and not doing the work yourself. That's what I'm trying to say is, like, if you don't do the work yourself, if you're not actively trying to improve your mind, none of that other stuff might work momentarily, short term, but you'll always have to go to another medication, right? Because that one medication will lose its potency over time.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, and kind of circling back around on what you were saying about men and their mental health and maybe some unwillingness to seek help or talk about it. One thing I have seen just anecdotally with a lot of men in my life and men that I've dated and, just broadly, is that men will be in the gym 6 days a week, exercising for an hour, being like, this is self-improvement, I'm working on myself, but kind of developing a really unhealthy relationship with exercise,
and they're
just disordered eating, and that is just, they're not I'm like, you don't need to be in the gym 6 days a week. Like, you just got divorced. You need to talk about that. You know, like you're trying to slap a Band-Aid on it by going to the gym every single day and being keto and being very regimented about your diet and fitness, and you're not confronting, you're literally running away on the treadmill from your issues.
Yeah. And I used to do that. Like, I used to be that guy. I still love going to the gym, but I use it for a different opportunity now.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of the gym time that is spent, like, is really having conversations with myself and just talking and just, like, because, like, when lifting weights, my mind is able to be clear for a short period of time. That hour in that day, I'm not thinking about anything else in my life other than having that conversation. And, like, I've hardly talked to anybody at the gym. I'm that guy that does not, like, even look at anybody. I'm just there and I'm working out and, like, and so, but one thing, for me, and going back to, like, having those people around you, like, for me, like, especially my wife, like, we are essentially a team. And so, like, I love the fact that, like, when we first got married, it was hard to have conversations just because, like, I was the type of person, like, I've never really had anxiety. Because I dealt with trauma in a different way. I just would internalize it and I would say, and I would just shove it way down. Like, I'm not going to think about it. Right. That's why I don't remember a lot of my childhood, just because I shoved it down.
I think a lot of us. A lot.
And so that's how I always internalize things and stuff like that. But, like, when you get married and you have to have those conversations and you have to be open and you learn about your love languages and stuff like that.
Right.
And you start exploring your own mind, like, you start, like, so that's helped me immensely. Just having, like, that type of partner in life. So I want to give Megan a shout out. She's probably upstairs. Maybe she's listening. Who knows? I know she's working from home now, so she's probably busy working. But I do want to kind of wrap this up, and I want to just talk quickly about obviously what you do, right, in content creation,
Yeah.
and
And
specifically.
I saw the Stanley Cup, everybody. Get it? Stanley Cup.
That is really
So-
awesome.
Speaking of influencers, I just want to say too, I didn't want to forget, my friend Jen brought this up, and she said about this Stanley Cup, and I said no. She said an influencer put it on. Sorry for all the beeping, guys, but my phone's blowing up. But an influencer put the cup up, and it sold out in 24 hours, and there was like 30,000 sales, and I don't know who the influencer was.
I don't either.
But it's funny because she has one, and I'm curious.
My trendy Gen Z little sister got this one.
Oh, okay.
She
so
bought
she
it
was
as a Christmas
influenced.
present. I was influenced by my little
No,
sister.
your
my
sister was influenced.
Yes, because she has one for herself, and I was kind of making fun of her. I was like, "Oh, you got the Stanley," because she definitely has like a bunch of big water bottle jugs.
Yeah.
That's her thing. She always has a cup, and she was like, "No, this is the best one."
I've
You'll
heard
see.
that. I'm a Yeti. Hashtag Yeti obsessed, though.
I had a Yeti, but now this is. I like my
this
handle.
Would fit in the car too.
It fits in the car.
Larger.
I'm influencing right now. Here we go. Handle fits in the cup holder. Has a straw that's really easy to wash. It keeps your water so cold. I love it.
Yeah. I'm curious to what some of the things that you do.
Ask specific questions. I'm not good with an open-ended.
She has
tell me about yourself.
You also have an Instagram that we'll talk. We'll do the handles, but it's a thrift.
Yes.
I want to do. We're gonna do so many more podcasts because I'm a huge thrifter.
I'll talk all day.
And
so I would say specifically, if you want to get to a specific question, right? Who are the types of people that you do help? Because you help create content for other people, I'm assuming, right? So specifically, is there, like, for me, my niche market is helping millennials and Gen Zs answer tough financial questions. Like, right? That's my.
Oh, I need some help with that.
But
I will be following along on that journey there.
Because nobody comes to me and says, "Hey, Billy, I want a financial plan." They're like, "I have a very specific financial question that I need an answer to," right? And then it often leads into other stuff. But for you, like, who specifically are you helping in your content creation for I'm assuming other business owners and stuff like that? So
in the kind of my own platform is separate from social media management. For social media management, I have a lot of clients who are local business owners. They're all women, which is not really intentional. It's just kind of who I have naturally connected with. And now I kind of love that it's all like local female-run businesses. Love that. And I help them just with their, like we were talking about, the planning out content, having it all batched day to day, like behind the scenes content creation. I love that kind of thing. So that's what I do for business.
I hate that stuff. So
that's what every business owner says. They are so good at what they do. And then they're like, the idea that I have worked 12 hours today on my business and I took this picture and I have to think of a caption for it and post it and post hashtags is just too much. I absolutely will not be doing that. I'm like,
so you do it.
That's where I come in. I do it. I'll write the caption. I'll take the picture. I'll do it for you. I love that kind of thing. That's my favorite part. So it really, every single business owner I've met has said, I hate the social media part. And I'm like, that's why I'm here. For myself, with like my Instagram and blog, TikTok, whatever, the whole meta universe of what I do, I guess. I feel like it has kind of evolved over the years. It's always been very fashion centric, which I know I'm in like a sweatshirt right now, but I always say I'm a fashion influencer because you see me at the coffee shop and I'm in like leggings and a sweatshirt all the time.
You're real, that's,
right.
Who you are. Yeah.
No, so I like to talk about fashion and, like you said, thrifting, kind of leaning more towards sustainability. I like to give. I'm not judgmental. I'm not the kind of person who's like, no fast fashion, you're trash if you shop from Amazon. I don't believe that at all. But just trying to be a resource for ways that you can be a little more sustainable through thrifting, talking about composting. I have some clothes from brands that are compostable. Just kind of being a resource for those brands or those, techniques, if we're talking about composting, that you can be a little bit more sustainable, because the fashion industry is just absolutely not sustainable at all. There's so much waste. 85% of clothes ultimately end up in a landfill, even if they are resold on an app like Poshmark or something like that. So what to do if you don't want to be the kind of person that's just constantly contributing to all that waste and trash, and that kind of getting into the ethics of the fashion industry. So yeah,
I love that. We're all here to do good, I say, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like to think so. I'm trying.
Yeah, I've actually bought a pair of shorts. Like, athletic shorts are like my jam when I'm not dressed up for work. I love athletic shorts, and I bought a pair of athletic shorts from Puma, actually.
Yeah.
And they're made from old water bottles.
Right, which is so cool.
So it's so cool. Like, and I was like, oh, I need to do this more often, because like that takes trash away from the earth and stuff like that. So I was like, man, this is pretty cool. And it makes you just feel good. Like, you're like, hey, like in a roundabout way, I'm doing something for the environment, right? Like, and
absolutely.
So, that's awesome. So, I guess my next question is how can people get a hold of you and stuff like that? Like, let me go to this question. The question just came back to my mind, right? So for you, what are you seeing in the social media content world, whereas like some of the better platforms for business owners to be on right now? I think that's a really good tip, because a lot of the people that watch this, where we post in the Central PA group, are business owners. So this would be also a good way to promote your business, right? You give some tips out, right? So what are some good platforms, I guess, for small business owners?
Definitely Instagram. And I feel like Instagram content translates so easily to Facebook that you kind of do it all at once. Like, you're posting for your Instagram audience, and then everyone on Facebook who's maybe a little older, because I don't know about you guys, I don't use Facebook. I'm not a Facebook girl.
Billy does.
You have to have it kind of be connected to Instagram, since it's all meta. I'm not a Facebook girly, and I don't think anyone kind of our age or younger is. So making sure that you're reaching all of your audience groups. I feel like the majority of people are on Instagram. That translates very easily to Facebook. You post it over there. And then I'm trying to get more into TikTok for businesses, because I think that's we're headed that way, and I'm kind of hesitant. Like you said, TikTok is a free for all, and I think I finally understand it. It took me a while. Well, let me back up. TikTok for me is the first social media platform that is not intuitive, because it's not made for me. It's made for Gen Z. It's made for teenagers.
Okay.
And when I was a teenager, MySpace, Facebook, and then when I was in college, Instagram kind of came out. Those were all directly catered to me and my age group at that time. TikTok is the first platform where I'm like, I don't get it.
Right.
For the first,
I'm the same way.
For the first couple of weeks, I was like, it's just teenagers dancing. I don't get it. But that TikTok algorithm is so specific, and it can be very educational depending on what you're interacting with, that I really do think TikTok is the future. And I want to get more of my brands onto TikTok and figure out how to leverage that for businesses.
Yeah.
I have thought about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 100% want to be on TikTok, because especially in my field, I see a lot of misinformation when it comes to financial services on TikTok. Tons of it. And it's almost like I want to be the anti-financial services influencer on TikTok, because you're right. Like, there is like the reach is so crazy. I think a big platform for me right now, just because of what I do and the people that I'm actively looking for, LinkedIn has been crazy good for me right now. Just because of the reach and stuff like that. But you're right. Like, I use Facebook, but I use Facebook and Instagram kind of connected, because it's easy to connect the cross posts and stuff like that. So no, that's very interesting, right? Like, and a lot of people are like hesitant with TikTok just
Aw.
because
Yeah.
Maybe
the
she can
stigma.
help us succumb to
I
the,
would love
the
that.
TikTok.
TikTok.
Well, the Millenniyell I feel like needs to be on the
do.
TikTok, right?
Yeah,
like
it
on
is.
the TikTok.
On the
TikTok.
So, but I mean, what's really interesting, and I've shared this with Mel before, I think it would be really easy to do that just because on this platform, StreamYard, that we use for going live and stuff like that, you can actually clip little clips and make them reels and stuff like that. So it would be really easy to do. It's just just the time.
I'm
Right?
trying.
And that's where a social media manager comes in to
I know.
make up for that time.
I tried to do that, Billy. Just to let you know, I was gonna text you, and I'm having some trouble. It's like spinning. So I'm gonna try it again after this one and see, and maybe just look at some YouTube videos because you can find anything on anything on YouTube.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, speaking of viral moments, we're going to end the show here, but we end it with two things. And I actually found a meme.
Oh, good.
So, because I know you were in the field reporting, but but the one of the things that we like to do at the end of the show is the millennial meme of the week.
All right.
So we were going to clip that voice, but I've been doing it manually for the last couple of weeks. So, and everybody's like, it sounds the exact same every time. So just keep doing it.
That was good.
So I got to take the meme really quick. But before we do that, we're going to reverse something really quick, and then I'll pop the meme up.
Okay.
Because I don't have it in the StreamYard app yet. What we will do, and I don't know, Hannah, if she told you this, but there's a very specific part at the end of the show that we typically surprise our guests with that they don't know is coming because we want to get raw, real reaction, right?
Oh.
And so we have another moment at the end of the show where we have Mel's moment.
Okay.
So Mel usually at this point of the show leaves us with a very influential comment, inspirational thing to take us into the next week, the weekend, or take us into next week, but really to take us into the weekend to set us up for success. So we give that to our special guests to let them give us their comment or whatnot. So I'll let you take it away, and I'll let you have your moment.
So I have to give advice going in. Wow, and you just
anything you want to do on the spot.
On the spot.
No pressure.
What kind of stuff do you usually say? Are you usually? Is it a benediction? Is it like go and be blessed?
It is.
Or is it?
Yes,
like here's your homework for the week. Like you need to start journaling and exercising.
It could be anything you want it to be, and usually it's something that relates to the topic of what we've talked about. But sometimes it's like something that I'm very passionate about that I want other people to like something I think you should do this or just maybe don't do these things,
Well, I think you saying that gives me like kind of a direction to go. I think it would be a good little challenge since we talked about how making something a challenge, at least for us with ADHD, makes it we're gonna do it. I will absolutely rise to a challenge. I think all of us and then anyone listening should kind of take the week and start doing one thing for their mental health, whether that's journaling, meditation, yoga, whatever, and really take a long, hard look at yourself in the mirror and think of one thing that you know is detrimental to your health, mental health, whether it's drinking too much caffeine in the morning on an empty stomach, talking to someone that you know is a toxic person in your life, constant stressor. Take a moment, be honest with yourself, and start working on cutting out one of those, kind of toxic habits that you have that you know are detrimental to your health. So we're adding something and taking something away.
I love that. I love that. I love that because I think people get overwhelmed with their mental health.
Oh yeah.
and that you think you got to change everything in your
Right.
life at one moment. And
Yes.
if you try to do it all at one time, you're just setting yourself up for failure.
It is.
You're
It's
gonna
a lot
end
of
up
pressure.
worse off than you were.
And just
before you started.
saying, let me just change one thing. I don't want to smoke anymore, right? I feel that is detrimental to my health and my mental health. Boom, you quit smoking. And then once you do that, you move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So I finally have the meme. I'm going to pop it
Great.
up.
I'm excited.
So it's very millennial meme. And so for those that are not watching, it is Buzz Lightyear and Woody from Toy Story. And they're kind of, Buzz is kind of pointing out, and it just says influencers everywhere. And so I thought that was a good kind of funny, especially on our topic that we were talking about.
I'm going to Photoshop it to say inspires everywhere.
There you go.
So, but no, Hannah, we really appreciate you being on today.
Yeah, I've had so much fun being here.
Yeah,
I told her, listen, the universe, and I say God, but anybody that wants to think, we're magnets, okay? And I do think that we attract things that are really great, and sometimes we attract things that are not good, and it's a realization and a wake-up call. But Hannah actually came with a friend I invited for my Galentine's Day party. I told my gals to bring their gals. And when I saw the list of names, I just sort of happened to see a couple things. Maybe I wasn't looking them up, but I think I just
a little Instagram creep.
I was creeping.
Yeah.
I called it out. I did it.
Oh, no, I am known to creep.
I want to know what I'm getting myself into.
I have no shame, but
absolutely.
But hers stuck out to me, and I immediately commented on a story, and we started messaging back and forth. And I said, I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person at the Galentine's, and then let's connect on stuff. I want to talk to you more, and I want to have you on the podcast. And we've talked now, I think, about doing a couple other topics. And I know I'll have her on mine. And maybe, there's stuff with your money talk that, you're saying that
you help me with my finances.
on the Millenniyell on Fridays. I mean, I really do think that people, we had Jordan on, and we've had some really great guests, obviously now and Kenny, but I think what we're putting out in our content and a lot of the things that we're doing is we're evolving as individuals, but then also with the podcast and trying to, talk about like our purpose in what we're doing. It's really attracting, really great guests and content that it's so funny to hear the content. Content.
Yeah, everything's content.
message
and conversations that Billy and I really want to start having.
Yeah, so you start to attract your people.
Yep. 100%. I love it. Well, anyways, guys, hopefully you got value out of today. If you
this is the 100th episode.
If they didn't get value out of today, they need to check their pulse for Christ's sake. But anyways, we appreciate everybody that jumped on, commented. Make sure you go check out Hannah, real quick, tell them where they can find you, where they can go check you out.
Okay, so I'm everywhere as at Hannah Lyter, and Hannah is a palindrome, so there is an H at the end, Hannah. Lyter is Lyter, at Hannah Lyter on Instagram, TikTok. I don't know if I told you this, but I have my own podcast. I've just been on a hiatus.
So no.
I love podcasting. So I do have a podcast called Talk Straight on iTunes and Spotify that I am currently recording for and getting back.
Oh, good.
For a new season. So I would love to have you or both of you on that. But you can listen to old episodes there. I think those are the main ones. I'm kind of on the internet everywhere you could find me, but those are the ones where we can chit chat if you want to talk.
Love it.
On Instagram and TikTok. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. So, but anyways, guys, go check her out on Instagram and stuff like that. But guys, like I said, we're super appreciative of everybody that jumped on, commented, liked this. Yeah. And we will see you next Friday for another episode of the Millenniyell. So have a great weekend. Go make some good memories, like I always say. And just have a good one. And we'll see you next week. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.